Everyone, and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda, and in today's video we're going to be doing a Nordic inspired Christmas design, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. Now, I haven't necessarily done too many Nordic style nails, but I really loved the new Nordic Christmas mix water decals that were part of the latest water decal release. And in the release video, I didn't actually use them because I wanted to try and do a full set with them. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Starting off, I'm coming in with my gel polish colour. Here you can see I'm using the beautiful Vintage White. Of course, if you were doing this set on yourself or a client, you would need to do all of your prep and base coat first of all. But we're jumping straight in with the colour because we're just working on display tips. So I'm going to apply 2 thin coats of Vintage White to all 4 of the nails. And I'm going to cure each coat for 30 seconds. Now, I absolutely love a Vintage White. It makes a beautiful base for any kind of nail art, whether it be water decals, foils, stamping. It really is just one of those colors that I reach for a lot when I want a base color but I don't necessarily want a white. It's kind of like an off-white pinky shade, as you can see, but because it's nice and pale for decals especially, it makes a really nice base because your decals will pop more basically if they're over a lighter colored base. So I tend to stick to whites, creams, nude and pastel shades whenever I'm using my water decals. So once I've come in and applied this second coat of Vintage White, we're going to pop that into cure, and then as you can see here just in one moment, how gorgeous does this look once you've got that second coat applied. It's a beautiful creamy shade. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. And then for the next part of our design, I'm going to be using the new Black Galaxy. Black Galaxy is part of the new Reflective Glitter collection and it is absolutely stunning. For this set, I wanted to have a kind of like a negative space cutout design. So we're going to be doing a lot of the nail art with Black Galaxy and the Kiki London stripe liner brush. This is one of my go-to nail art brushes. I think I say in every video, but I very rarely do a set of gel polish nails without using this brush. It just comes in handy for literally any kind of hand painting. As you can see, it's got quite long length bristles, but they are very, very fine. So it's brilliant for any kind of line work, but I just love it for any kind of hand painting. This brush and the detail brush are definitely my 2 go-to brushes if I know that I'm doing any kind of hand painting. We are keeping the hand painting fairly simple in this set. So basically on all of the nails, we're going to have some form of cutout. So on the first one, it's very, very simple. We're kind of doing a bit like a swooped French. It's a bit of an alternative French nail. We're just coming across one half of the nail, letting it swoop off, and it kind of just gives off the same effect as a French tip. But I like it because it looks a little bit more different than the classic French. Then on this nail, we're actually going to be hand painting a present, but I want half of the nail to be the Black Galaxy and half of the nail to be Vintage White. So I'm going to take my stripe liner brush, load it up with gel polish and literally come straight down the center of the nail. I'm letting the brush do a lot of the work for me. So I'm applying a small amount of pressure so that those bristles fan out, and then I'm going to come straight down the nail in one clean swoop if possible. It's a lot easier to do it in one straight line than having to come in and fix it up, but obviously it does take a little bit of practice. I then come in and filled that half of the nail in with my bottle brush, and as you can see, I did come over my line slightly. So I'm going to take my angled nail art brush and a little bit of alcohol just to neaten that up. The angled nail art brush as well is really great if you struggle to get a straight line with your stripe liner brush, or if you're just new to doing any kind of hand painting and are a little bit shaky, then get the line as neat as possible with your brush. But then because the angled nail art brush has quite firm compacted bristles, it allows you to neaten and clean up any mistakes or any unevenness in your hand painting. So I just apply a tiny amount of alcohol, or I use one of the Kiki London alcohol pads just to moisten the brush enough that you're able to clean up. And then I'll just come in and wipe off any gel polish areas that I'm not happy with. You have to do this before curing, because once you pop the nails into cure, the gel polish is set in place. On to the next nail, I've done kind of like a half cuticle cuff, and then we're going to come up this end of the nail and do a half French. So I start off by doing a straight line down the nail, taking it down as far as I want that to go, and then I'm just going to swoop off exactly like how a kind of long French would look. And then I'm just going to fill that in. I loved this nail. This was my favorite one. I really like this. Again, it's like an alternative French, but I really like how this design looks, especially with the half cuticle cuff on the opposite side of the nail as well. All of these designs would look great on their own. So for example, a full set of this nail design would look really pretty in my opinion. And I really liked how these nails looked as well without the water decals. So if you didn't want to go for the more full-on Christmassy nail art design, you could just get away with doing this and it still look quite elegant and Christmassy, because obviously the black glitters maybe look a little bit more New Year's actually with the nude and black effect. But yeah, I really liked how this design looked with both with and without the water decals. On this now, we're simply going to do a swirl going across one half of the nail, just keeping the vintage white areas kind of like our negative space areas. Usually when I'm doing negative space nails, I'll reach for a more glassy toned colour, especially if working over natural nails. But I loved how this looked, especially because we were working over display tips. So once we have got all of the first coat of Black Galaxy done, really quickly I wanted to come in and add a second coat of colour, just so it really sparkles. You're going to really get that reflectiveness coming through when we do the sort of top coat reveal at the end of the video. But also because we're working over that nude base, I wanted to make sure, sorry, that none of that nude was showing through, and I had worked quite thin with my gel polish colours. So I'm just going to come in, fly through and do a second coat of colour. It's really quickly to do your second coat because you've got a guide where you've already done the first coat of colour. So obviously, as long as you keep everything nice and neat and keep exactly over the top of what you've already put down, your second coat is usually a lot quicker to do. Another thing that I wanted to mention is I know a few people have asked me, do I find the reflective glitters any thicker than a regular gel polish? And in all honesty, any kind of glitter gel is going to be slightly thicker than a regular gel polish, because obviously the gel polish is jam-packed with glitters, and these ones really are jam-packed with sparkles. So you may notice the consistency is a little bit thicker than your regular gel polish colours, but as long as you take a small amount on your brush at a time, you are able to still get a nice thin layer of gel polish. So in this video, we're not doing any full cover nails with the Black Galaxy, but I'm using the same principle with my nail art brush. I'm making sure to only take a small amount on my brush so I can really brush it into place, especially as you just see there when I'm going over and doing that swoop. I'm really applying pressure with my brush so that the gel polish is distributed evenly. And then here when I come in with my bottle brush, as you can see, I've only got a small amount of product on my bottle brush so that you're able to still get a nice thin application, even though glitter gel polishes are that little bit thicker. In the previous video I did work on my own nails, and we did do two full cover reflective nails with Winterberry. So do check out that video if you're a little bit unsure on how to work with glitter gel polishes. I will leave it linked in the description box below. So moving on, we're now going to apply our water decals. So as you see, I've got the Nordic Christmas Mix water decals. I've already cut out all of them that I'm going to use, and I want to do quite a few, so I've cut out a fair few, and I've kind of just lined them up on what nails that I want to put them on, just so I've got a rough plan of what I'm doing. Now, when I cut out my water decals, always try to cut out as close to the image as possible. You want to remove as much of that white backing that's around the decal when it's on the sheet, so that then when it transfers onto the nail, you haven't got too much of the clear backing paper around your image. This way you get a lot more of a seamless and neat application. Now, as you can see, application wise, I'm using the jelly stamper method. This is my go-to way of applying water decals, especially over a gel polish base. So let's talk application. You have the tacky layer from your gel polish, so this does make it a lot easier to apply. On this nail, I'd wiped over the nail a couple of times with alcohol, so it was a little bit trickier to apply because they haven't got a tacky base. If you've removed your tacky base, maybe if you've buffed the nails, for example, when doing a builder gel set, then you can add a layer of foil gel, cure that, and then your decals will stick a lot easier. But when working over a gel polish, so once you've applied your 2 coats, cured them, you're left with that tacky inhibition layer, and this really grabs hold of your water decals. You'll see it a little bit better on this now, I believe. But to apply them, I'm going to pop both my decals for each nail down onto my stamper, and using my angled nail art brush, I'm going to dampen the back of them with some room temperature water. And then wait around 5 to 10 seconds. It doesn't take long, to be honest. And then you're able to slide off that white backing paper. And then you're able to simply press down your water decal onto the nail. And then, like I said, because you've got that tacky layer left from the gel polish, it grabs on and pulls that decal. And I find this really helps get a nice smooth application. And then I just come over with my silicone tool just to make sure that it has all adhered nicely. Also at this point, if you've got any creases or any bubbles, any areas in your water decal that are not lying perfectly, then just come over them and smooth it out with your silicone tool. So this is quite a larger water decal. We're placing it over the apex part of the nail, so it's got that bit of a curve to it. So I like to make sure I'm really rubbing out any creases that might have formed because we're going over a curved surface. You do want to be nice and gentle so that you don't tear your water decals. So this is what the design looked like once we had finished a lot of the nail art. I'm still going to come in and do a little bit of hand painting on the ring finger. But I was really loving this whole vibe. Like I said at the start of the video, it's a little bit different to anything I've done before. But I do really love the whole Nordic Scandinavian vibe, especially for Christmas. So I was really pleased to see those style water decals released in the latest collection. If you haven't checked out the latest collection of water decals, I will leave the launch video in the description box below, as that shows all of the latest decals that were released. There are quite a few water decals up now on the Kiki London website, so do take a look because they are amazing to work with. So now we're going to come in and do a little bit of hand painting to finish off this present nail. So I've taken coconut and added some of that to my palette, and I'm just going to come down the center of the nail and try and draw a line as neat as possible. This was a little bit tricky because you've got a little bit of unevenness to the nail where you've only come over one side with the black galaxy. It would have been better if I'd have top coated this now with a matte top coat first and then come in and done the hand painting, because that's what I normally would do if I've got any areas where we've got more gel polish on one side compared to the other. And I do also find it a lot easier to hand paint over a matte surface as well, but I completely forgot to do that. So we're jumping straight in to just doing the hand painting, and it is a little bit trickier. But what I'm doing is I'm doing one line. So I've done the line down the center of the nail, and then I flash cured that for 10 seconds so that I don't smudge it when I'm doing the line across the nail. And then we're keeping that nice and simple, straight down, straight across. And then I'm just touching up any areas that looked a little bit uneven. Just coming over just to make sure that that line is as crisp and as neat as possible. Again, I'm letting the brush do a lot of the work for me. You'll see that with my little finger, I'm anchoring it on to my thumb, so it helps balance out your hand. And the more balanced your hand is and the more you're in a position that's comfortable to work in, it makes it a lot easier for any kind of hand painting. Then we're going to come in and draw on our little bow. So I'm starting off by doing the top parts of what would be the ribbon, just 2 little curves joining up in the center of the nail, trying to keep these fairly thin because I didn't want it to look too heavy in the center of the nail. And then once I'm happy with them, we'll come in and draw on the little tails of the bow in the 2 sections of the bottom part of the present. And I really loved how this looked with the little water decals as well, because it gave off the effect of like patterned wrapping paper. And again, I felt like that worked really nicely for the whole Nordic vibe, because I tend to go for that style wrapping paper myself when I'm wrapping Christmas presents. I just love how traditional and cozy it looks. Again, taking my angled nail art brush, because it's got those firm bristles, it's brilliant for cleaning up any areas that you're not 100% happy with. And then we're going to pop that in to cure. And finally, that is the end of all of the nail art. We're then ready to come in and top coat. So on this set, I decided I wanted a matte and glossy combination. I want all of the areas that are vintage white to be matte and all of the black galaxy areas to be glossy. So I'm going to start off by taking my No Wipe matte top coat and applying this to all of the nails, just one thin coat to all of the nails. Now, of course, if you didn't want the matte and glossy combo, you could just come in and either do just matte or just glossy. But in my opinion, I really loved how this looked. I loved the contrast between the vintage white and the black galaxy, but then I really loved that contrast between matte and glossy. So do let me know what you think of that in the comments below. We're going to pop that matte top coat in to cure for 30 seconds, and here you'll be able to see what all of the nails would look like if you left them matte. I do love how this set looks matte. I do love a matte glitter, but I love the reflective sparkles in the reflective collection, so I really wanted to come in and do them glossy. Now, because only small parts of the nail are glossy, what we're going to do is pop our No Wipe top coat down onto a palette, and we're going to come back in with that trusty strap liner brush and just go over all of the black galaxy areas, keeping it quite neat as possible. You don't want to take any of this top coat over on to the vintage white areas of the nail, as it will be quite noticeable. So I'm just taking my time to make sure that I'm being as neat as I possibly can be. Again, if you do come over or you do get the top coat on any areas that you don't want it to be on, just before curing, you can come in and clean this off with a little bit of alcohol and your angled nail art brush. This one here was a little bit tricky because obviously you've got the bow to go around. So I'm making sure that I only take a small amount of my No Wipe top coat onto my brush at a time, just so I can get a nice, neat application. And then I'm just going to fill in all of the areas. This was a little bit finicky, but in my opinion anyway, it was really worth it as I loved how it looked. Now, as always, I will leave all of the products that I've used in today's video listed in the description box below, as well as those videos that I recommended checking out. So do check the description box for all of that information. It does also include a link to the Kiki London website where you can shop all of these amazing products. Another thing that I wanted to ask is if you are enjoying the Kiki London YouTube videos, then please do give the videos a thumbs up and leave us a comment below, as it really helps boost the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, then please do hit that subscription button. I upload new videos every Friday, and it's one of the go-to places to see any of the new Kiki London products as they launch as well. We've had some amazing launches this year. There's been so many amazing color collections, so much amazing nail art, new brushes. So it's been brilliant to be able to share them with you all. And I'm sure in 2023, there'll be even more amazing launches. So once again, if you are enjoying the channel, please do hit that subscription button. Now that we're coming to the end of applying that top coat, we're going to pop these into cure, and then we're ready for the final reveal. I have left two clips showing you guys what these nails look like. One with my regular lighting, which is what you can see here. And then we're going to switch to with the lighting turned down and the flash on, because this gives off a different effect with those reflective particles. It was a little bit tricky to record with my recording light, so it's not as good as what it could be. But I have also left some pictures as well, as I really love how these reflective particles look under a flashlight. Like, look how sparkly and amazing they are. If you haven't checked them out already, then I would highly recommend checking them out. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and have a wonderful weekend. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.